Representing this year's wonderful group of 6 medalists is Mayda Del Valle, whose talk is entitled, Life is Usually Untitled. Mayda.
Oh, wow, this is a really big podium. I feel really small back here all of a sudden. I'm like, hi, Mom. Can you see me? Maybe I could put it. That's not going to work either. Okay, cool. We're just going to do this and make it work out. Is that good? How y'all feeling? Y'all good? Cool. I got to check in with the audience all the time because I just want to make sure, you know, you're having a good time. I know it's hot as hell in here right now. You got your robes on. People are like... So, okay, so this is really interesting because for the last, 3 days, I've been staying up all night, you know, really stressed out about this speech and trying to figure out what I'm going to say. And, you know, I was really, you know, trying to find something really motivational so I could usher your little punk butts, you know, into your senior year and make it memorable in some way because I don't even remember if I went to my convocation my senior year. So, you know, I've been working on this speech. I haven't taken any phone calls. I haven't answered any emails. People are calling me like, we need that paperwork for you, you know. And I'm like, shut up, I'm working on my bicentennial speech. And, you know, you can go to LA, you can ask my boyfriend. I'd, you know, walk into the house. I'd be sitting in front of the computer. My eyes are all glazed over, and I'm all nervous about my speech. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to say. This is going to suck. And I got to do my bicentennial speech. I don't even know what a bicentennial medal is. And then I go to the dinner last night, and Katie reads my bio, and she quotes all of my professors, and I'm sitting there crying, and I'm like, oh, I'm not even done with my speech yet. This is going to suck. You know, I had it all planned out, and then 15 people came up to me, and they're like, well, you're going to do some poems, right? You're going to read, because people want to see you perform. And I was like, but I got my speech that I've been working on for 3 days. And, yeah, I haven't slept on the plane. I'm kind of, you know, yeah, all kinds of stuff right now. So I had 9 pages of stuff that I'm not going to read. So, yeah. So anyway. Whew. So I figured I was just going to wing it because that's what you guys are probably going to do for the next year and after is wing it. You know, if you're anything like I was before graduating, you know, you had that question, what are you going to do next year? I have no idea. So I was going to, you know, do a little poem for you and then tell you a little bit about my story and then do another poem for you. And, you know, if you feel like you got gypped on your bicentennial medal convocation speech, then you could, you know, you got beef with me, you can meet me outside and I'll read you the 9 pages of stuff that I'm not going to read now. So, you know, because I know somebody out there is going to be like, I really didn't appreciate the, you know, improvisational manner of her speech. It just didn't really work for me. So you could catch me at the picnic and I'll read it to you. So, okay, so this piece is entitled Descendancy, and I actually wrote it while I was here at Williams for this independent study that I'll tell you a little bit about in a minute. And I ended up actually doing this piece on Broadway, and I slammed with this piece when I moved to New York, and it's just about where I come from and who I am and you know, some of the things I experienced while I was here. So, it's nice that you can claim your clan to purebred pedigree descendancy, but middle passages mark the makeup of my amalgamated Afro-Boricua ancestry. I know it's kind of hard to see the motherland legitimacy in me, but I can't deny the fact that Yoruba songs lay in the lines of my mother's palms as she puts her hands up, offering up psalms, seeking the calm offered from God's son, because when the day is done, the color of my skin still marks me as an alien in the country of my birth. I can't check myself into a box. I'd be ignoring mommy straight and papi's nappy locks in me, the Chi-Town, Midwest, Windy City in me, the bebop, hip-hop, non-stop, salsa con sabor, queen of soul in me, the growing up next door to Mexicanos and orale cabrones, tacos and tamales in me, the B-girl days while spitting flames and painting trains in me, the taína con dolor in me, the Marvin Gaye and sweetened lemonade on sunny days in me, the descendancy that doesn't deny the darker shades of skin in me which you claim you can't see, so descend and see. Descendancy me for what I be, cause I be a Rican, a Chi-Town, not a New York Rican, a Chi-Town, Southside Rican, simply seeking to see if I can fit in. I dare you to sit still in your chair and intellectualize what I can only make sense of by feeling. I see you're being blind, not seeing past the kinds of fabricated fictional fables, assaulted ancestral accounts. I should be calling the historical scribes Aesop the way they stop the truth from being illuminated, using tactics, trying to force my assimilation, causing me to question my creation. You must have mistaken me for Hansel and Gretel, thinking I'd jump into the melting pot, always trying to place me in constant categorizations of populations. You're calling this ish civilization? My so-called pre-Columbian, savage, unenlightened ancestors had more humanity than this Microsoft, Macintosh, technology, monopoly, information highway, riding bareback on the backs of underpaid third world women and children, 85 cents a day for making $100 Nikes, nuclear bomb dropping, immigrants stopping death by lethal electrocution, injecting lies of let me get my piece of the American apple pie dream into our children's minds society. Let me order your new world and paint the White House brown, cause I'm going down to the earth searching my roots like Haley's, and I'm riding comets back to the past that becomes my future, that is my present, that is my now. I'm going back seeking my descendancy. So, okay, so I was a little angry when I was at Williams. Just a little bit. The way I ended up here is pretty non-traditional, and you know what I did here and what I'm doing now is pretty non-traditional in a lot of ways. So I was, growing up on the south side of Chicago, and I was in high school, and I'm in my junior year, and, my little overachieving butt was doing all kinds of extracurricular activities and taking all my college requirement classes and all that business. And so, the time came for me to apply to college, and I didn't know where I was going to go. And I was the first one in my family to kind of, do that process right after high school and go away. And the first woman on my father's side, and he's got 13 brothers and sisters in his family, the first woman on my father's side of the family to go to school. So I'm in my, process of trying to figure out where I'm going. And so I was working at this organization on the south side, doing a lot of community stuff with youth, doing graffiti murals and hip-hop projects with different artists from the underground scene in Chicago. And so one of the young organizers who was straight out of college when I first started working there, his name was Jonathan Peck, and his father was Bob Peck, director of athletics a couple years ago here. So I'm applying to schools, and Jonathan says to me, he saw my grades and my GPAs and all that stuff, and he goes, well, where are you going to go to school? And I was like, I don't have really any clue what I'm going to do. And he said, well, have you heard about Williams? And I was like, Williams and Mary? And he said, no, Williams College in Massachusetts is one of the best colleges in the country. I was like, I ain't never heard of it. So he says, so he brings a recruiter out to our office to come do a little, show and tell of Williams for some of our youth. And so she sits down with me, and she brings me out to the school for this weekend, and I come and I see the school, and it was cool, and it still was not my first choice. My first choice was Sarah Lawrence, because I want to be able to go somewhere where I could do, political science, because I thought I was going to go to law school and change the world, and theater, because I was really into performing, which you just saw. So I was like, I got to be able to do both. So I wanted to go somewhere, I wanted a liberal arts education, and, Alice Walker went to Sarah Lawrence, and I was absolutely elated when I got my acceptance letter, and I was, excited. I got accepted to Williams. I didn't get accepted to NYU. I'm still mad at them about that, but that's okay. So I'm here, and I'm trying to figure out what to do, and I was ecstatic. I was like, I got into Sarah Lawrence. They even hand wrote a little note on the bottom of the letter referring to one of my essays. I thought it was grand. So, but I didn't know anything about the financial aid process, right? because nobody in my family had filled out financial aid stuff before. So it was not as glorious as the application process to get in. And so I got a letter from Sarah Lawrence, and they were like, oh, we don't have any more financial aid. You're going to have to get $30,000 worth of loans. And I was like, what am I going to do? I had no idea where I was going to go. I was this close to not even going to school. So I talked to Jonathan, and he calls his dad up, and he says, I'm going to put you in touch with somebody. He called up the recruiter. Long story short, I sent them all my stuff. 2 weeks later, I had my whole thing paid for at Williams. I had a full ride. I guess this is where I'm going, is what I said to myself. So I walked into the kitchen, and I was like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to Massachusetts. And they were like, when did you decide this? So I packed my stuff. I came to Williams, and here I was, really feeling out of place and really isolated, and like I didn't fit in, and there was nobody else like me here, and all that kind of stuff. And I came with the full intention of being a theater major, and then that didn't work out so well because I wasn't really feeling the department. And then I was like, well, let's try poli-sci, and that wasn't really my cup of cake either, cup of tea. So I tried everything. I tried math. I did physics. I did, Division 3 credits. I tried everything. And then I took Drawing 1 with Professor Epping. Right there. And I felt really at home in the art department. And so I took 2 more art classes the second semester of my sophomore year, and I loved it. I took sculpture, and I took the next level drawing class, and I was like, well, this is where I'm learning the most and where I feel the happiest. So I guess I'm going to be an art major. I guess that's cool, right? Because it feels good. I'm just going to be an art major. And my mother was like, what do you mean you're going to be an art major? I shaved off like decades off their lifespan when I told them I was going to be an artist. So I'm having a ball in the art department, and I was in Kusika, and I danced. The dance department was my other home. And so I was having a pretty good time, still adjusting to, trying to navigate my way through this place. And, like El Presidente said, you don't really figure out how to really get the most out of this place until maybe like the second semester of your junior year, if you're lucky, your senior year. So I figured that I was really into video my junior year, and so I started, doing videos, and it was really fun. And then I went abroad for a semester. And right before leaving, I had a really tumultuous time here, just some bad decisions that I made, and wasn't getting along with some people, and it was kind of rough. And then I left for 6 months, and I had the time of my life in South Africa. I mean, it was unbelievable. I felt like any insecurities I had about being here prior to that completely disappeared. And I felt like I was alive and aware and present, and it was spectacular in every sense of the word. And I felt like I came back really knowing myself. And then I got back to campus. And everything that I had not dealt with over the last 6 months was right there for me to come back to, right? Because it's not the same. You can move past something, but it's not the same as moving through something, right? Because when you move past something, a lot of times you just ignore it. It's not there. So I had all the stuff that I had left behind to deal with. And my first semester, my senior year, was really rough. Really, really rough. Was just doing some dumb stuff. I couldn't deal. I just felt like nothing I was taking was relevant to my life. Nothing was relevant to what I'd seen. I was like, I'm here in this little bubble, and, people are really dealing with some stuff back in South Africa, and everyone here is more concerned about, their shoes and their paper, and there's some real stuff going out in the world, and nobody knows about it. And I just felt like everything was irrelevant, and nothing was making any sense to me at that point. And I'd lost a lot of friends, the people I wasn't talking to anymore, and I was really a mess and pretending like everything was really okay, and it wasn't. And so towards the end of that semester, I decided I was going to leave. I was just going to bounce. I was going to pack my stuff. I was going to maybe not even do winter study. I was just going to leave. I was too much for me. I felt like it was changing me in ways that I didn't like. I didn't like who I was. I didn't like who I was at all. And so I was getting ready to leave. I hadn't even picked out second semester classes. And my friend Will Rawls called me one Saturday afternoon, and he said to me, I have an extra ticket for this show at Mass Mocha. Why don't you come with me? You know, Sandy's got some tickets to this thing, and I'm going to go watch it for my independent study. And you should come. And I was like, well, all right, I'll go, because I figured I was just going to be sitting in my room, you know, mopey and depressed anyway. And so I went to this show, and the first part of the show was this dancer who was doing a presentation on black women in the blues, and it was amazing. And then the second performance was a poet named Everton Sylvester from the Brooklyn Funk Essentials, and he was performing with a Latin jazz trio. And I sat there, and it was amazing. And I just was completely absorbed in the whole performance. And I kind of started to remember that I was, didn't I do this? Wasn't I writing poetry? You know, I used to kind of get up and perform. But that funk had like overwhelmed me, you know, that cloud that was over my head. And I was just throwing myself like one big pity party. You know, I was just like, the world sucks, I'm so sad, and I don't like it here. And so I got back that day, and I sucked it up. I was like, you know, if I leave for a year, and then I come back a year or two from now, you know, to finish this up, the same stuff is still going to be here. Some of the same people are still going to be here. I'm still going to have to deal with their butts, you know. I'm going to have to finish. So I was like, why am I going to torture myself and extend it for a year and ignore it for a year when I could just suck it up and finish it in 4 months? So I sucked it up. That's what you got to do sometimes when things get rough. You got to stop throwing yourself a pity party. And people will participate in your pity party. They'll call you up and be like, oh, you got a pity party Saturday night, girl? I'm going to bring my bitterness. I'll bring the Kleenex. And we'll just feel sorry for ourselves all night. Woo! You know, and then you choose, and then the minute you choose to feel good and you make a decision that you're going to be happy and that you're going to be fabulous and be magnificent in all of yourself, people are like, well, what you got to be so happy about? I'm over here with my Kleenex. I thought you were throwing the pity party next week, you know? So I sucked it up. In 2 days, 2, maybe 3 days, I had a proposal for independent study because I was like, well, I don't even know what I'm going to take this next semester. He's like, Mayda, if there aren't any classes that you want to take, make your own. Make your own class. And I was like, oh, we can do things like independent studies here, can't we? By golly, Will, I think you're onto something. So in 2 days, I had my proposal. I called Sandy, and I was like, I want you to be my sponsor because you're the only one here who knows what it is that I'm talking about, right? You're the only one here who knows about Mos Def and Talib and the Last Poets and Amir Baraka and Sonia Sanchez and Pedro Pietri and Miguel Algarin and Miguel Piñera. You're the only one who knows what I'm talking about when I say those names and what it is, you know, that I do because she'd seen me perform. So she said, well, I'll definitely be your sponsor. We can't register the class through this department because it's not a department, right? So my class was registered through the theater department, but everything I did was in the dance department. And all of a sudden, the moment I decided that I had to, you know, I was so transfixed by that show, I was so moved by it, I was like, this is what I haven't been doing. That's what I love to do. I love to get up and perform. This is great. I can study this here, I can get credit for it, and I can be done in 4 months and be over it, you know? So I started doing all kinds of research. I was completely absorbed in this project. And initially, I thought it was going to be a paper. I was like, I'll do, you know, like a 20-page paper, and I'll give a presentation, a little half-hour presentation. Because one thing I learned in my art classes was that you might have a plan about what it is that you want to make, right? You got your little vision, and it rarely ends up the way you see it in your head, right? And if you're too attached to the plan, you're going to lose out on some really magnificent things. You're gonna end, you end up losing the moments of being in the moment and being present to what it is that you're doing. And what you come up with at the end is even more amazing than when you had initially intended, right? So this thing took on a life of its own. And everything, when I say that the chips started to fall into place, I mean everything just appeared. I had been so obsessed with trying to figure out my life while I was here, and what am I going to do with myself, and I don't know, and I have to have the plan. I need a plan for my life because everyone else has the plan. He's going to law school, and she's going to medical school, and everybody knows what they're going to do next year. She's going to Johns Hopkins, and she's going to Kazakhstan with the Peace Corps, and I don't know what I'm doing. The plan appeared the moment I decided to do what made me happy. Don't worry about the plan. It shows up when you make the choice to follow what's inside of you. And when you make the choice to to bring to life that thing that only you can bring onto this planet. Nobody else is you. Nobody else can do what you do. You have something inside of you right now that nobody else has. And there's something you're meant to do on this earth that nobody else can do. And the moment you figure that out, you don't even have to figure it out. Just listen to yourself. Just listen to that little voice inside of yourself and do what feels right. You have a gut instinct and we don't pay attention to it because it's froofy and new agey and stuff. But that's when you listen to that, that's when everything falls into line. And when I say the chips fell into place, I mean it got approved. The independent study got approved. My friends were like, "I'll play music for you. I'll help you with the videos. I'll do lights for you. I'll help you design your costume. I'll do this for you." Pieces started coming out of nowhere that I hadn't been able to write in forever, and all these pieces just started coming out of everywhere. And all of a sudden, I had this one woman show that was an hour long. My art thesis, which was supposed to be some kind of real stupid documentary. I was like, I'm going to do a documentary for my art thesis. Ended up being these short experimental videos that I ended up using in the show. So everything just solved itself. Everything just worked itself out in ways that I couldn't even imagine initially. And I ended up having the best semester I'd ever had here. My GPA jumped to like a 3.9 by the time I left. I got on the dean's list. I was like, I got on the dean's list? How'd that happen? I got on the dean's list. I got honors on my project. I graduated with honors in my major. I mean, it was just incredible. And I still walk around with this to this day. When I was sitting, everything was over. I just handed in my last paper. I had done my show, and I was reading The Alchemist in front of LaSalle, sitting on the bench under that tree. And I closed the book, and I read the last page, and I closed it. And that's when I said, I'm going to do whatever it is. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know how I'm going to get there. But this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm supposed to do with my life. I'm supposed to be on stage. I'm supposed to be talking to people. I have a responsibility. I have an ability. I have a gift for it. And the sense of figuring out what it is that I can do, that I'm good at, the weight of that fell on my shoulders, and the responsibility, of the weight of all that just came to me at that moment. And it's scary. It's not easy. I'm not telling you it's going to be like, a walk in the park. You're going to have to deal with things that are difficult. You're going to scratch your hair and want to pull your hair out, trying to think, am I really supposed to be doing this? But you know deep inside of you that you are, because you're fighting the good fight. You're not fighting just struggling against some obstacle. You're fighting to do what you love. You're fighting to be all of yourself, and that's the best fighting that you can do, So do whatever it is that you're going to do, whatever it is that you're going to do when you get out of here. Just make sure you feel good about it. Make sure it makes you happy. Don't walk out of here thinking you got to find something that's going to be secure, because you know what? Security is just an illusion. It's a lie. It's a lie people made up so that they feel better about not following their dreams. There's no such thing as security. Talk to the people at Enron about security, all right? Those people thought they were real secure, and look now, gone in a second. There's no such thing as security. The only thing that's written, the only thing that's secure is your sense of self and being true to yourself. That's the only security there is. So, with that said, you guys cool? It's really hot in here. It's really, really hot in here. Do what you love. Do what you love. Do what you love. Point blank. Don't do anything else. Even if it pays the bills. I've walked away from things that pay the bills because I was like, this isn't right for me. It's not going to make me happy. I know I might be able to pay my rent, but I'm going to be miserable. Be sitting at a desk tied up to something I don't want to do. Do what you love. Do what you love. So, this last piece that I'm going to do for you guys is called Remember. And this is really about why I'm here. This is for everybody who came before me, for all my ancestors, the sole reason that I even exist right now. I really walk around with my family in everything that I do because, like I said yesterday on the panel, I was like, I think about my grandfather had a farm, waking up every morning. My grandmother with 13 kids, no epidural. Could you imagine? You know, and my grandmother, my mother's mother, who was an orphan, she didn't know her mom. I think about my parents. My mother had, you know, always tells me about, I only had one pair of shoes every year growing up. You know, my dad didn't finish high school. My mom got her GED after she had my brother and my sister. So I feel like I owe it to them to try and be the best all the time, and whatever it is that I do, to just be the best all the time and do it to the best of my ability. So this piece is about that. And it's also about that thing inside of you that we forget we have. Everybody here has people who came before them. And so this room is filled with all of them right now. So this is for you, this is for your ancestors, and this is so that you remember that light inside of you. Can you remember? Right at this moment, our past is pressing up against us. Pressure on our pores, we sweat till our present is soaked with the accumulation of choices and experience. There is no coincidence. See, we come coded for rebirth and remembrance. Deja vu and dreams where we fly and grow wings are just reminders of who we really are. Caught in the mechanics of life, we long for a fresh start, repeat cycles like a washing machine, but wonder why the slate never feels clean, hiding our pain behind masks, trying to save face like the Shroud of Turin. We forget, and there is no one to remind us anymore. Books and TVs have replaced our remaining elders. Where once sage and scars welcomed us to adulthood, we're now welcome to a world of materialism and greed. Forgetting self is the new initiation. Welcome to the new trail of tears. We were warriors and healers, shapeshifters and seers, but our medicine men and women pray to glass pipes now. Misdirected energy got them concocting chemicals and misusing herbs to haze the real vision, so it's easier to crack our dreams. Our hearts are offbeat, and if we took just a second to tune into the sound of our breath, we'd be able to hear our divinity pulsing up our feet through the concrete streets of our cities, and we would remember that we be stars, brilliant suns that shine at high noon, earth-shattering revelations eclipsed on the edge of new moons, but we give up too soon, leave our dreams dead and deferred on the side of the road, and forget that while our bodies may have been property, our souls could never be sold. That's why we're the greatest story ever told. People so in tune with the earth, we took on its colors in bold shades of red, brown, and gold. Worship the sun, whisper prayers carried on the flutter of birds' wings, so aligned with our spirits we move like the wind, and God was unquestionable to us. So religion made us believe we were original sin. Now we spend lifetimes staring at our hands, searching for a lifeline, encapsulated sun rays, trapped in so much self-doubt we forget how to shine. That's why I sleep less these days, cause my soul's been speaking a rhyme, and I gotta capture these words and shout them, cause I know it's a sign. See, my dreams are reminders, messages sent from the back of my mind with ancestors guiding me, telling me it's time for remembrance divine. See, it's their spirits that give me the strength to be a Sangoma sister and soldier, turning me into the coldest winter ever. That's why my words tend to send chills up your spine, but don't sweat it. I'm not mistaking the stage for a pulpit. This is just the altar where I offer my ink and my words for the return of your memories. So every morning you look in the mirror, instead of confessing your sins, wipe your tears and remind yourself you're made in the image of her, because the real revolution won't begin with the shot of a gun. It'll start when each and every one of us remembers we're a part of the reason there's a shine to the sun. Thank you, Williams.